All right, so I want to get into this real quick for the purposes of the stupidity of the argument. So for I don't know, at least the last decade, there has been the LeBron James camp, the Michael Jordan people, and they always want to battle it out. Who's the GOAT and who's the greatest of all time? Who's the best basketball player of all time? To me, I hate the argument because one, they've never played against each other. They're two different eras of basketball. Jordan retired 2 years before LeBron came into the league. So they never crossed over. But the point I want to make before I get into some of these numbers are, first of all, they played in two different eras. They're not even the same position. So it's like you're comparing apples to oranges in the sense of like it's not the exact same type of player and what that player needed. Michael Jordan also played 3 years of college before he came into the NBA. LeBron is straight out of high school. So, and LeBron was obviously a local kid that was put into his hometown team. So, Michael Jordan has that brand that has carried on for life, for his legacy for life, that was created basically 40 years ago with that, the Jordan Jumpman. So, I just want to get into some of these numbers and then we'll talk about why this argument's stupid because I don't know why we have to say this person's the greatest or just put them on like the top shelf here or top tier. So I'm gonna go over LeBron's numbers real quick here. So the reason I did this is because a couple nights ago, and LeBron just injured himself, so he is out for about a week. But these numbers were put together as he surpassed the 50,000 point plateau for his career, and that is including playoffs. No other player is within 5,000 points of that, and that was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who retired like 40 years ago. So here's LeBron has obviously played with three different teams. He is one of, I believe, 4 or 5 players in the history of the NBA to win 3 titles with 3 different, or to win multiple titles with multiple teams. So he obviously won the 2016 championship with the Cavs. He won the 2012 and 2013 championship with the Heat, and he won the 2020 championship with the Lakers. But for his career, he basically, if you look at those numbers, he has had 3 Hall of Fame careers just based on each franchise he's with. But for his career numbers, this was during that game. He is 1,001 and 547 as a, winning, and that is with the playoffs included. A 4-time NBA champ, a 4-time MVP, a 21-time All-Star. He's playing in year 22. The only time he didn't make the All-Star team was his rookie year, and oh yeah, he won the Rookie of the Year that year. He's the all-time scoring king, 50,000 points, as I mentioned, and counting for his career, 22 seasons. That to me right there. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, how long did it take for him to do it? Well, it's like, there's something to be said about that for playing 22 years, for playing the majority of your games, and to stay healthy. And look at these numbers he has done over 22 seasons, over 1,500 games, 27 points a game, 7.5 rebounds, 7.5 assists, and 1.5 steals. That's pretty awesome. So those are LeBron James numbers since for his career, and those numbers were updated as of March 6th, so a few days ago. Here's Michael Jordan's numbers. So Michael Jordan with the Chicago Bulls, and that's what most people remember him. He played his 2 seasons to end his career with the Washington Wizards, but he is a 6-time NBA champ, 91 through 93, and then again 96 through 98. A 6-time Eastern Conference champ, 5-time MVP, Rookie of the Year in 1985, and a 10-time scoring champ. Michael Jordan was the better scorer of the two, at least points per game. But LeBron is more of the complete player, in my opinion. Michael Jordan played 13 seasons, with the Bulls, 1984 to 1993. Took about a year and a half off with could be suspension, could be conspiracy theory, like he got banned from gambling, but he went and played baseball, played minor league baseball with the Chicago White Sox. Came back 94 to 98. His career averages with the Bulls pretty amazing, especially points per game. 31.5 points per game, 6.3 rebounds, 5.4 assists, and 2.5 steals. For his career, 825 and 426, so 659 win percentage. LeBron is at a 647, so very, very comparable. A 6-time NBA champ, 5-time MVP, 14-time All-Star. He also won the Rookie of the Year. His points total in his career, 38,279. So if you do the math, he's roughly 12,000 points behind LeBron James, including the playoffs. If you want to do like, X's and, apples to apples. Career averages, 14 seasons for Michael Jordan, 1,251 games. This is including playoffs and including the time with the Wizards. 30.5 points per game, 6.3 rebounds, 5.3 assists, 2.3 steals. So I don't think you can go wrong with either player. They are the greatest of all time in their era. But like when you say all time, it's like, what does that mean? Like, is Bill Russell the greatest of all time because he's got 11 championship rings, but he also played on a loaded Boston Celtics team with multiple Hall of Famers. So Michael Jordan was swept out of the playoffs a couple years. People are saying, well, like, LeBron's made it to the finals more, but Michael Jordan went 6-0 in the finals. But is it like one of those arguments where if you make it to the finals and lose, is that worse than losing in the first round and not having that loss in the final? So to me, a lot of it's a dumb arguments, and it's not necessarily comparing apples to apples. So your thoughts on just the debate in itself?
It serves no purpose. I'm with you. It's almost like when people say two historical characters got in a fight, who would win, that kind of a thing. Like, maybe a little fun discussion, but doesn't mean anything.
Right.
And especially like you said, because we're in different eras, different game. The only way to satisfy this is to make them play each other right now and see who freaking wins. So 1-on-1, 50 games, best of 50 games.
You got a 63-year-old Michael Jordan or whatever he is versus LeBron, who's still 40.
Point is, there's no way to compare them.
It's not fair.
I mean, would you take like a Babe Ruth and put him in today's league and is he the greatest, home run hitter?
That's a great comparison. It's like, probably not, because you look at what people are doing with their body, staying, Babe Ruth would probably like have a few heaters and slam a few beers before every game. It's like, that's not the way things are done now. Like, people, like athletes, take care of their bodies. They spend millions into the off season, into their training and nutrition and taking care of themselves. So it's apples and oranges. And I love LeBron. I love Michael Jordan. I grew up, like, full transparency, I grew up a Cavs fan ever since I can remember, like Mark Price, Brad Daugherty, Craig Elo, Larry Nance, Hot Rod Williams, all those guys. But I loved Michael Jordan. I loved that intro for the Chicago Bulls, but I hated Michael Jordan when he played the Cavs. It was like one of those things of like, I would root for the anti-hero, and then when he, played the Cavs, he was the villain. So the reason I posted that is I initially posted the LeBron graphic, and the amount of people that are like LeBron haters out there is just insane to me. It's like, I don't know, I understand. I was pissed off as anyone when LeBron left Cleveland to go to Miami. But when he came back in 2016, well, he came back in 2014 or whatever, but he redeemed himself by winning that championship for the city of Cleveland, who hadn't had a title in 52 years. So to me, he's good. Like, he's won me, and that might be a little inherent bias, but to me, it's like LeBron James is more of the complete player. Michael Jordan was more of that freak athlete, probably a slightly better defender, and just an elite scorer. But it's like, what does it matter? They're both great players in their own era, and they're still doing unbelievable things. Obviously, the Jordan jump man is still like, I still have a couple pair of Jordan shoes that I've bought recently because that logo, that shoe is iconic. And I think that carries a little bit of weight with some of the people in the arguments. It's like, well, Jordan shoes are awesome. So that's, and like, you remember him hitting game winners. And like, I think some people have this memory, this false memory of childhood too. It's like, well, he was the best, but you also maybe look at some of the players, I think, again, it's one of those things. It's like, it's beating a dead horse. But I wanted to at least point out why I think that argument's dumb. So
yeah, I just appreciate the athletes for who they were in their era. Let's do this. Let's settle it and say it's a tie.
Yeah,
they are both great.
I would love if people could just be like, yep, I appreciate their greatness. And James Frank they're both GOATs. And I think we just leave it at that. Yeah. So,
because if you ask Michael, he'd probably say LeBron. And if you ask LeBron, he'd probably say Michael. So it's a tie.
I actually, and I think that was one thing where if you ask Michael, he'd be like, F LeBron, it's me. Like, because Michael Jordan, I will say, does have a little bit more of that killer instinct. And I think some people, that might resonate with some people. But as far as just play on the court, I like let's call it a tie.
Put it to bed.
So yeah.